Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today we're back with another episode of the Nickname Academy, where we are going to go through every single Pokemon, right the way from Bulbasaur to Zeraora, and give them all nicknames. And once Gen 8 comes out, we're going to do them as well. Now, as of recording this episode, we have 366 nicknames done and ready to go. And I've almost finished doing Gen 1. I just need evolutions and then I'll have all of them. So we'll be soon done with Generation 1 entirely, which is very exciting stuff. So, with that said, let's get right into it. Last off, you'll know we left off at Slowbro, so let's get right into the next on the list, which is going to be Magnemite. Now, Magnemite is going to be nicknamed Cryptochrome. It's got nothing to do with cryptocurrency. Cryptochrome is a protein which is in the eyes. It's something I don't know much about. I did a little bit of research, and it turns out this particular protein in the eyes is sensitive to Earth's magnetic field, apparently. Who knew? Not me. Never been much of a biologist or a scientist in any way. But what it means is you've got this thing in your eye which is sensitive to the magnetic field of the Earth, so it's a magnet in the eye, and Magnemite has one eye. So there we go, we're mashing them together to form Cryptochrome, the Magnemite. Lovely stuff. Now, Magnemite of course evolves into Magneton. Magneton is quite simply going to be called Speakers, and once again we are working with magnetism, of course, based on the theme of the Pokemon. Speakers, of course, provide sound, obviously, and again, not being much of a scientist in any way, I don't really know much about how things work, but my research tells me that speakers work using electromagnets. The electromagnet in the speaker sort of interacts with a wire so that audio can be heard. So within the speaker you've got this area with wire and an electromagnet, so it has a magnet on it. Magneton, there we go. There's Magneton done. Speakers the Magneton. Even though it doesn't really use anything based on sound. Oh well, we're just going to go with it. Now, after Magneton, of course, we have everyone's favourite little silly duck, Farfetch'd. And Farfetch'd is quite simply going to be called Quackers. Now, if an idea is quite far-fetched, which is where obviously the name comes from, it just means it's kind of out there, it's a little bit weird, and sort of in terms of slang or like general kind of words meaning things are mad or insane or far-fetched, you can say that something's a little bit crackers. Not a very used word anymore, but it does mean sort of far-fetched. If something's far-fetched, it's a bit crackers. But Farfetch'd is a duck, so we've changed it a little bit and we're going to call it Quackers, because it's absolutely Quackers. Silly one, but most of these are, you know how we do. So that's Farfetch'd done, and with that we're going to move on to a couple of other weird looking birds, starting off of course with Doduo. Doduo is going to be nicknamed, now I'm hoping I'm going to say this right, Barunda? I think I'm saying that right. Again, my pronunciation is not great with some of the things I don't know a lot about, but Barunda the Doduo. Now, why are we calling it this? Well, reason being, Doduo is of course a bird with two heads, and there is a collection of Indian short stories called the Panchatantra Tales. I believe that's how it's pronounced, again, the Panchatantra Tales, and there is a story in that called The Bird with Two Heads, and the name of the titular bird with the two heads is Barunda, so that's why we've gone with Barunda the Doduo. Taking it up a notch from two heads, we move on to three, with of course Doduo's evolution being Dodrio. Now Dodrio is a really, really silly one. We have gone with Secret Santa. Now, what is a Secret Santa? Of course, for those of you who don't know, which most of you will do, Secret Santa is something that groups of people do. You see it sometimes in like the workplace or within groups of friends. It's this kind of thing at Christmas where people in a group, names go into a hat, you draw one out without anyone else knowing, and the person whose name you've got, that is someone for whom you buy a small present, and it's exchanged in a big group, and it's all very fun and laughs are had. Now, Secret Santa for Dodrio, the reason we're going to take the two parts of Dodrio's name, both of which, Do and Drio, are actually Latin, and Do is the Latin for I give, and Drio is the Latin for next. So, as in Secret Santa, you go around a circle and each person, one by one, opens their gift, or gives their gift. So, Dodrio goes to I give next. So, in terms of Secret Santa, he's saying, okay, I give next. Dodrio, Secret Santa, done. Right, with having done Dodrio, after that we have Seal. Very simple one here. There is only one real true nickname for Seal, and that is of course going to be Kiss from a Rose, the very famous song by the musical recording artist Seal. Very famous song. It's one of those ones where even if you don't know it, if you heard it, you'd probably recognise it. And yeah, it's literally just Kiss from a Rose, the song by the artist Seal. So Seal is going to be called Kiss from a Rose. Very simple, very effective. After Seal, of course, comes its evolution, Dewgong. Just one of the most forgotten Pokemon in existence. I have been crying out for Game Freak to please give us a Mega Evolution of Dewgong. So many people saying, oh, we need to give Mega Evolutions to Flygon and Dragonite because they deserve it. No, they don't. Dodrio. No, not Dodrio, that was the last one. Dewgong, sorry, deserves Mega Evolution because it's been completely forgotten about. Just one of those Pokemon, one of the only Water-type Pokemon from Gen 1 that didn't get any new toys worth talking about. But I've gone off on a rant on how much I want a Mega for Dewgong. Let's focus on the nickname, which is going to be Umpan. Now, what is an Umpan? Well, it is a large flat gong, which is often seen in Zen monasteries. They're usually sort of outside, and they're sort of hit to, I believe it's some kind of like ornamental like dinner gong, I think, to sort of announce that it's a meal time. Usually seen outside. So things that are outside when it's sort of morning time, it's been raining maybe overnight, you get sort of dew all over stuff. So an outside gong could get dew on it, so it would be a dew gong. There we go, dew gong all done. Moving on very swiftly, we have Grimer. Now, Grimer is going to be called Physarum. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and this next bit is going to be even more difficult because that comes from the genus Physarum polycephalum. I'm really hoping I'm getting that right now. What is that? Well, it is what's called a slime mold, which is in effect a kind of living slime, which is basically exactly what Grimer is. Now, we can't fit the entire genus, so we're just going to go with Physarum for Grimer, the living slime, and that of course works perfectly well for the Alolan form of Grimer too. So there we go, Grimer, Physarum. Moving on, Grimer's evolution is of course Muck. Now, Muck is going to be called Smallest Isle. Why are we calling it Smallest Isle? Well, there is an actual island called Muck, actually spelled M-U-C-K as opposed to M-U-K. But Muck is an island in a group very originally named the Small Isles. It's the smallest of the Small Isles. It's the Small Isles is a collection of islands of the Inner Hebrides, sort of around Scotland. 4 main islands, and Muck is the smallest of them, so Muck is literally going to be called Smallest Isle, because that's what it is. Now, for the Alolan form, we're actually going a little bit different for once. We're actually going to call the Alolan form Haywire. Now, the reason we're calling it Haywire is because if something is going haywire, it's out of control, it's running amok, and Alolan Muck, often abbreviated down to A-Muck, amok, running amok, haywire. Done. There we go. Very simple. That's the Alolan Muck nickname that we're going with. Now, moving on, we have Shelder, and Shelder is going to be called Chronix. A recording artist, I believe. I don't actually know anything about this particular recording artist. What I do know is that there is a song by Chronix called They Don't Know, and one of the big lyrics of this song in the chorus, I believe, is "They don't know what I feel inside." And Shelder is this closed oyster shell. You don't know what's inside it. No one knows what's inside it, so they don't know what it feels inside, and that's why we're going to go with Shelder as Chronix. Shelder's evolution, of course, is Cloyster. And Cloyster, the butt of many jokes for what it looks like, but we are not going to be crass about this. We're going to be stupid about this. We're going to call Cloyster Brightlingsea. Now, Brightlingsea is a location in Essex on the coast, and one of the things that is there is I had to read a few actual scientific articles to work this out. Brightlingsea in Essex is the location of a commercial oyster cleaning station. Very random, I know. Because you don't want dirty oysters. They're, you eat them living for one thing, which is a bit odd. So you don't want them to be dirty. You certainly don't want them to give you any kind of health hazards. So this is an oyster cleaning station, and one of the major parts of the cleaning process for the oysters is to use chlorine within water, 3 parts per million. It's like I'm giving a recipe here for how to clean your oysters. But this is a location where this particular process is used. It's an oyster cleaning station that uses chlorine, the chemical symbol for chlorine, of course, being Cl. So you've got Cl and oyster. So there we go, using chlorine for oysters, Cl oyster equals cloister. And this process is undertaken in a location called Brightling Sea, which is why that's what the nickname we're going with. Sorted. Now, moving on from cloister, we have Ghastly, and no, we're not going to go with Rick Ghastly. Yes, I'm aware that I've used Ghastly's called Rick Ghastly in the past, but that's far too obvious. We're going to keep with the musical theme. We're going to call Ghastly Dennis. Very simple. Dennis is the first name of the real name of the rapper Ghostface Killer. Again, not an artist I know anything about other than his first name apparently, but Ghastly is literally just a face, and it's a ghost, and it hits things very hard, especially in Little Cup. So yeah, it is a Ghostface Killer, so we're going to call Ghastly Dennis. Moving on, Ghastly evolves into Haunter, and Haunter is going to be called Linda Vista. Now, Linda Vista is not a person as far as I'm aware, actually could well be, but we're going to name Haunter Linda Vista after the Linda Vista Hospital in East Los Angeles, which is, I don't think it's an active hospital anymore, but it's certainly on a list as, I think it's the most, if not the most, one of the most haunted hospitals or locations in the USA. So, effectively there'll be ghosts there, and, they would haunt this hospital, which of course is made up of various locations, including emergency rooms, which is abbreviated down to ER, which is the emergency room. So, it would haunt the ER, Haunter. There we go, Linda Vista the Haunter. Now moving on to Gengar. Gengar I used to call Dennis, but I moved that to Ghastly so that Gengar could be called Hindenburg. And I'm aware that I'm kind of getting into dodgy territory here, but the Hindenburg, of course, a very famous airship, which very famously crashed, and killed a lot of people, unfortunately. The Hindenburg was an airship that used to float, or indeed levitate, but it doesn't anymore. And of course, Gengar used to have the ability to levitate, but it doesn't anymore. So that's why we've gone with Gengar, the Hindenburg the Gengar. And that will work indeed for the Mega Evolution as well, which of course does not have levitate because it's actually attached to the ground or sort of morphing through it. So Gengar is going to be called Hindenburg. Moving on to Onix, one of the old original Gen 1 standalones that now has an evolution. That's going to be called Sebai. Much like with Shellder, much like with Grimer, we're going with a Latin genus, Python Sebai, which is the African rock python, and Onix is a rock snake. So that's why, very simply, we've gone with Sebai. And keeping it as simple as possible, this is one of the most simple nicknames I've ever used. Drowsy, next on the list, is going to be called Tired, because literally drowsy means tired. There's nothing special about this one. I couldn't find anything strange about sleeping and tapirs after what it's based on. I literally was like, you know what, let's just go with the most obvious nickname possible. It works, it's literally what the name means. Drowsy is tired. Its evolution is Hypno, and that's going to be a little bit more tricksy. We've gone with Piano Man. Piano Man, as you may know, is a song by Billy Joel, and I had to look up a long list of people who fall into this particular camp. Billy Joel, I learnt, had both of his hips replaced. Don't know why, but it means that at one time he had no hips. Hypno. They're not his real ones. Hypno, no hips. Billy Joel, Piano Man, Hypno, done. Next, that's a silly one. Next up, we have Krabby. Krabby is going to be called Noel. Noel, of course, Christmassy, very nice. And Krabby is a red crab, and there is a type of crab called the Christmas Island red crab. So it's a red crab on Christmas Island, associated with Christmas, Krabby, Noel, done. Krabby, of course, going to be evolving into Kingler, and Kingler is going to be called On the Roof. You wouldn't find a Kingler on your roof, but it's named after, of course, the play, book, film? Fiddler on the Roof. Again, we're going after a breed of crab here, this of course being the Fiddler crab, which is relatively well known for having one of its claws much bigger than the other one, which of course is what Kingler has as well. So we've gone with On the Roof because it's based on a Fiddler crab. There we go, Kingler done. The last evolutionary line we're going to look at today, we're at number 100, that's going to be Voltorb. Voltorb is going to be called Tesla, which seems like an obvious one, but there is reasoning to it. This is because of those plasma balls. You see them sometimes in museums, interactive museums certainly, or sometimes even like fairs or carnivals or whatever. You know, they're those balls with like lightning in them, and when you touch them, like the purple lightning goes to your hand. The reason those work is because they have a Tesla coil inside them, which is what makes the electricity go to your hand. So there's a Tesla coil inside these plasma balls. It is literally an electric sphere, which is what Voltorb is. So there we go, Voltorb is Tesla. Now, Voltorb of course evolves into Electrode, and we could use the same nickname because it's essentially the same thing, but we're going to go with something a bit sillier, and that is going to be Vote for Cars. Now, why would we call Electrode Vote for Cars? Because cars travel on the road. And if you're going to vote for that, you're going to elect it. Vote for Cars, elect road. There we go. Very simple and very dumb. So, that is going to call to an end this particular episode of the Nickname Academy. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. Next week, we are of course going to kick off with Execute. Very excited for that one. There are some good ones in the next episode, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. Remember, of course, to leave your nickname suggestions down there in the description below. I love reading your suggestions, and I've already read some fantastic ones that if I didn't have my own nicknames that I go to, I'd probably be using myself because they're really good. I really enjoy reading what you guys have to say on the nicknames. But yeah, keep letting me know your nicknames and keep nicknaming your Pokemon, because remember, every Pokemon deserves a nickname, so make sure you give them one. But I'm going to get out of here, so my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.